Hey guys, EST here, and it's high time I made a video about monkeypox, the latest trend in pandemics. What is it? How serious is it? What do we know so far? And that's really the key, because let me just, start with a disclaimer. I'm not a doctor. I'm also not new to working in medical fields, but I'm not a doctor. And none of this is medical advice, obviously. And the first time I tried to record this video, it was like 50 minutes long. Everybody loves long format podcasts, all y'all truckers out there, cool, great. But my goal is about 8 minutes, okay? It's 1.5 pages of notes, come on. So we're about to speed run this. Oh, also the other disclaimer, this is an evolving situation. It's not a very common pathogen, so what we know about it now versus what we might know about it even in June could be two completely different things. So do stay up to date on this, but everything in this video, I found at least 2 sources on anything that was said. We're talking vetted, reliable sources, governments, nonprofit research, university scientists, peer-reviewed stuff. So let's jump into it. What the heck is monkeypox? It is a virus. I know everybody thinks, oh, it's the skin thing. Is it bacterial or fungal? That's the first place you usually go mentally. No, it is a virus. It just causes skin lesions. It is in the variola family, which is the same as smallpox. But it's not smallpox. It's just in the same family, and that's good because smallpox had a lethality rate of 30%. It's one of the most devastating diseases ever known to all of mankind in all of history. Honestly, it makes malaria look like nothing. And smallpox has been around at least 3,000 years and started roughly around that time in either India or Egypt or both. So, yeah, a lot of people died from that, a lot of outbreaks. So I am not kidding. There's horsepox, rabbit pox, chicken pox, obviously. I believe that's varicella, though, not variola. But then there's like vaccinia, which is a different type of like skin lesion thing. So there's a lot of we'll just call them skin viruses, because that's basically what it means in Latin. It's cowpox, that was around at least 200, 300 years. And all of them but smallpox are pretty mild, not a very high lethality rate, if any at all. And very few of them have actually jumped to humans, but unsurprisingly, the one that works on monkeys works on humans for obvious reasons. So there have been outbreaks going on, and people are like, ooh, this looks bad, because they've seen photos or stories, and they're like, oh, good, another pandemic. Not necessarily. There's really 2 super alarming things about it, and 2 super, okay, it's fine things about it. And I'm just going to go back and forth. I'm not going to do all the scaremongering, worse parts and then all the good parts for dramatic effect. I'm just going to read them in the order that they're in my notes. By the way, if you like this video, the density of the information and just the way I'm presenting it and how much research I did on this, which sadly is more than most journalists, leave a like and subscribe. So the genome sequencing of the current outbreak, some samples they took from the infected people in the initial outbreak in Europe about 2 weeks or so ago, indicated that it's a very similar or same strain as one that had limited spread in an outbreak in 2018. And that wasn't one person. I couldn't find a count, but it was in Britain, Israel, and Singapore, not exactly next to each other. And they stomped that one out quick, but I heard a pure opinion piece, very important to outline that said that it was suppressed by the COVID lockdown, social distancing, people actually cleaning stuff, people staying home, working from home, all that stuff. So they think that kind of pumped the brakes on it. I have my doubts because of the timing. 2018, really, the outbreak was in 2018, and then the pandemic stopped it. A little too high of a gap there, and it's spreading pretty quickly, so that seems unreasonable to me, but someone said it, so okay. But here's the thing, okay, it's been what they call endemic in African countries. So let's talk about that. Endemic, I'll just pull up the definition. It is a disease that is persisting in a population or region, generally having settled to a relatively constant rate of occurrence. So not a flare-up every 200 years, not, oh, it came in and killed everyone. Not, oh, it kind of flared up and then everybody got immune and now it doesn't exist. Not, oh, it was vaccinated out and now nobody has it, like, polio and smallpox. It's just like, yeah, at any given time, plus or minus a little bit, X% of people have it, and it's just a steady leveled off rate. So especially Nigeria, but other African countries, they are at endemic level, and it's been that way for quite some time. So this is not some new variation. This is pretty much, with minor little genetic variations, the same old monkeypox we've been dealing with for about 7 years. So now, COVID, that was new. Nobody's seen a SARS variant like that, or like a specific coronavirus strain like that before. That was new. So it was actually first seen in 1958 in the wild, and the first human case was 1970. Now, smallpox, I said, has been around for 3,000 years, so this was just like a little variant of that. But obviously, if it's not clear already, way less deadly. So, as far as smallpox goes, it was eradicated completely in 1979 and verified in 1980 by the World Health Organization. So, in 1967, so just like 13 years earlier, they just said, we're going to get really serious about this. This has been killing more humans than almost anything ever. Let's try to eliminate it, because they had some pretty good tech back then, believe it or not. And so 13 years, boom, 0 people have smallpox. There has not been one single case since 1980. It is widely considered the single most effective, health campaign, or whatever you want to call it, ever. So because nobody had it anymore, shortly after 1980, they just stopped giving smallpox vaccines to kids when they're born. So fast forward, however many decades that was, and now they estimate 70% of the American population is not immune to smallpox, because why would you give somebody an immunization for something that doesn't exist? That you basically literally can't catch. Now they were thinking, oh, somebody might bust into some Russian lab and steal it, and there's samples stored in secure locations, blah, blah, blah. I never really got that. I could see people thinking that right up until about COVID, where if somebody wanted to release a biological agent that spreads quickly in one country to take out that country, wait a couple months and it's going to be in your country, okay? People jump on planes and they go to weird places. There are like Cuba caught it, islands caught it, New Zealand caught it, okay? If anything gets released anywhere, everybody's catching it. So you can't, I'm gonna smallpox attack America. Well, yeah, fast forward to everybody in your country dying too, okay? That I don't see it. But with a 30% lethality rate, what that would do to the global whatever, even in case of a lab leak or mistake, even though those never happen, they did continue research into vaccines and that kind of stuff, and trying to treat the minor versions, trying to treat the farm animal versions, obviously. But I keep mentioning smallpox and the 70% of the population not being immune to it directly. I mean, there is how it works, breast milk, and gets passed down on the mom's side, and you gain some of the immunities or most of them from that lineage. But still, if you were immune to smallpox by the vaccine or by having it, you are immune to monkeypox, and vice versa. They have absolutely determined that. Now back in, and I'm not misreading this, 1797, I am misreading it, 1798, but anyway, basically 1800, some guy named Edward Jenner demonstrated that giving humans an exposure to cowpox, which wouldn't really infect a human, but if you exposed them to it, it would protect you from smallpox. So these are really, really similar, as far as your immune system going, oh wait, that looks familiar, I'm going to attack that too. So it's the opposite of COVID, where every time there's a variant, your immune system's I've never seen that before. That's why people can catch Delta than Omicron. It's just different enough. Not at all the case with smallpox. Or for monkeypox, I should say. So that's kind of the history. That's where we're at. That's the established thing. So this is not a new thing. I mean, you kind of get where we're going. Now let's move on to what's going on and how it works and how bad it is. So I mentioned that the first human case was in 1970, but it's mostly isolated in Africa. But the first human case in the U.S. was 2003. So that's outbreak number, I don't even know. We'll just say 1. Then there was another one in 3 countries that I mentioned in 2018. And now there's another one in many, many, many countries right now in May 2022. So this one's spreading wider, faster, but it's it's the same one. It's not some super version as far as we know right now. You can't really call him patient 0, but the person allegedly behind a very early on, I want to say start of the month, European case, was initially reported as, they didn't have any contact with anyone anywhere, didn't go to Africa, and then that turned out to just, I think they had the wrong person or something. But no, they have verified as of last Friday that the person who spread that particular outbreak was visiting Nigeria and caught it there and then came back. So like I said, 2018, it was in 3 countries, and they managed to just isolate people, give treatments, whatever they did, and they stomped it out before it, went to 1,000 plus, which is usually the tipping point. So, facts about this one. It can enter via broken skin, respiratory system, your eyes, and your nose. So, touch a surface, touch your eyes. Touch a surface, touch your nose. That's bad. Direct breathing in, although I have pretty strong evidence from what I've read, though it's just they're kind of not, pulling the trigger on this saying absolute right now. It can't be fully aerosolized and just stick in the air like COVID can. It's kind of weird that any virus can do that. Remember, COVID was very resistant to ultraviolet light, which was extremely weird, and really high temperatures too. Didn't seem to affect it on surfaces. It would still live for 4+ hours. That is extremely unusual. You look at the flu or the cold virus, rhinovirus, no, absolutely not. UV just torches it, and it can't just sit there and float in tiny little, microparticles of water. It was more, direct spit, talking in someone's face, and if you're talking to someone 2 feet away, you're spitting on them. I'm spitting on my mic right now just talking. But I'm not going to get way into it, but it sounds like this one is not aerosolized like COVID was, where it can survive in a water droplet floating in the air and then survive being bombarded by ultraviolet sunlight and all this other weird stuff. If it was aerosolized, we would have heard about it because everybody would have caught it already. It's a little bit more gradual spread. You got to be pretty close, and it's not just, oh, I breathed in an office building for 8 hours and now everybody within 5 cubicles of me caught it. You know, that's how COVID was. So 5 to 21 day incubation time, though, that's alarming. That's up to double what COVID was. That's wow. So are you infectious that whole time? That's up in the air. We don't really know. It hasn't been studied that closely because it's just so rare. But it starts with a fever, headache, muscle ache, swollen lymph nodes, chills, fatigue, and then after that, and I don't have like a time frame because like I said, this wasn't like studied very closely. I'm sure we'll have numbers very shortly though. Then you get the skin rash, the skin lesions. Don't look up a photo if you're squeamish. And they start on the face and then spread to other places. So be awfully hard to hide that. So a lot of irresponsible people went out in public with COVID because they just had to go to work, had to do this, had to go get groceries, or just thought it was the flu, thought it was allergies, thought it was a regular cold. You ain't getting away with that with monkeypox, okay? But then again, this looked like not fully symptomatic spread. I'll get into the case studies that we know of so far with just this outbreak in a second, though. So generally, this whole illness is usually very mild, with patients recovering within a few weeks without treatment at all. And, like I said, it's just floating around Africa and people just like, oh, I caught it. Okay, whatever, stay home. It wasn't terrifically serious. So it's generally understood, and this has been confirmed recently, to have about a 1% fatality rate, and 1% of people are really unhealthy. I mean, you look at the COVID death numbers, it was a pretty old, fat, diabetic, chain-smoking demographic. You know, there were anomalies, and it was usually, if somebody died in their 30s, it's usually they had a condition they didn't know about, or their diet was horrifically bad, and they'd never had vitamin D in their life. That's a drastic oversimplification of what the numbers were pointing to. That's not an absolute fact, but that's kind of the consensus. So if it's a 1% fatality rate, and most of those people are in Africa where it doesn't have the best infrastructure and health anyway, it might get to a really healthy population in the first world, and with, assistance from medical technology, be not 1%, be a lot lower. And then anything below 1%, we don't really have to worry about it that much, obviously. So that's good news. Here's the bad news, because this completely offsets it. With this outbreak, we're looking at 92 confirmed cases as of a couple days ago, 28 suspected. So what is that, 100 and some? But that's only in tracked areas and whatever. The one person in critical condition is a child. So remember how when kids get the flu, it's unbelievably severe, and when adults get it, it's usually a little bit milder? And then remember how when adults caught, COVID, it was really bad, and when kids caught it, it was just whatever. They could just be a carrier, it just didn't affect them very much. Yep, every virus is different. So if this spreads and the adults are fine and the kids are extremely at risk of dying from it, that would be really bad. I mean, you want to see school shutdowns? You want to see learning from home over Zoom for a couple years? Now, unfortunately, with HIPAA, and it's a sample size of 1, we don't have any, is the person 17? Are they 8? Did they have any existing conditions? Do they have cancer? Are they immunocompromised? Are they a morbidly obese child? We don't know. And strangely enough, for a disease that's been around for 70 years, I couldn't find any data on what demographics it affects the most and which ones are the most at risk. So that's alarming. So how bad is it? Well, I said 92 plus 28 suspected is 14 cases in Portugal plus 20 suspected as of the 22nd. 2 confirmed, 20 suspected in Canada. Italy, Netherlands, France, Israel, Switzerland, Australia all have confirmed cases. UK confirms community spread. So not just a world tour of Nigeria or some kind of, I don't know, everybody went to an African business conference and came back with it, because that has happened. No, this was community spread for sure in urban areas, unsurprisingly. Belgium, they've already just rolled out as of, I believe, last Friday, compulsory quarantine, 21 days for anybody with monkeypox. You are staying home. If you don't agree with at least that, my gosh. I mean, lockdowns don't work, but if 5 people have it, those 5 people can stay home, thanks. So in Belgium, this is the big one. It spread at a festival in Antwerp. Now, how, though? Surfaces? I mean, I know the number one spread right now is intimate contact, especially amongst groups that have multiple rapid partners. I'm not going to throw anybody under the bus because YouTube won't let me, but certain groups that spread a lot of diseases like STDs, they're being hit the hardest by this. But I'm going to take a wild guess that since one child was thrown into this, that it's surface spread, touching their eyes and not washing their hands. So if somebody's like, oh, it only spreads this way, well, no. So verified community spread in 2 areas, and the 20 people that were affected in Belgium were all at the same festival, just touching something or talking to each other, riding a ride, or I don't have details on it. So is there a treatment? Is there a vaccine? And the answer is yes and yes. So that's really important. In fact, there's kind of just fortuitously, serendipitously, accidentally a treatment for it. They developed this thing called tecovirimat, which was basically for smallpox, and they kept it around just in case of a bioattack. Turns out it works on monkeypox. The US is sitting on 2 million doses of it right now. Basically, it's like a protein surface interrupter thing. Without getting into like biochemistry, it doesn't let the virus leave a cell after replicating. So you take that, and that virus is just done. Whatever the number of viruses in your system is right now, that's what it's staying at. It exists. It's FDA approved. It was European, whatever, FDA equivalent approved, I think even 3 years ago. It's been tested, phase 2 clinical trials. It's fine. It's already been produced, and they're sitting on it. That is just like unbelievably good news. The bad news is the vaccine will not be ready until 2023. So the big headline with that, remember, it's called MVABN, which I believe is monkeypox virus. Oh, no, monkeypox vaccine, obviously. And then hyphen BN, and the BN stands for Bavarian Nordic. So the American government just ordered a $119 million order of monkeypox-specific vaccines from Bavarian Nordic, with an option to up it to 180 million additional. So those two together, if they were to take the option, would be 13 million doses. Yeah, divided out for a bulk purchase, it's kind of expensive. But they're ordering it freeze-dried so that the shelf life is just historically for this type of strain 18 plus years, upwards of forever. I mean, you guys probably, if you've been on my channel long enough, know how freeze-drying works. It's the closest thing we have to stasis at this point. So they've actually been working on this between 2019 and 2022, which is, after the last monkeypox mini outbreak, but before this one. And then remember, there was one in 2003 as well, and probably a couple others I didn't even bother to mention. Also, one unidentified as of yet European country has placed a large order for these as well. Oh, and also I misspoke, pardon me. The US government has been working with Bavarian Nordic since 2003. That timing makes a little bit more sense. 2019 onward was the antiviral drug, and it was very recently approved. Oh, in Europe and by the FDA. Now, the first shipment won't be ready until 2023 through 2024. So we're talking like, I don't know if they mean the whole thing or batches or waves or all at once or what, but industrial freeze dryers need a lot of electricity and they're very slow and they're very expensive. So my guess is it's coming in waves. But we're, at least, I guess by that definition, like 7 months out probably from it, bare minimum? Uh-oh. Now, the smallpox vaccine, they were using that way back in the day. Now, do they make it the same way? Is it safer to do it with modern techniques? My guess would be yeah. And if they start handing out smallpox vaccines, would it prevent monkeypox? Absolutely yes. Now, here's the thing. You might be thinking, oh, this is just another vaccine. It's another scam. It's another Pfizer thing to make money. Well, it's Bavarian Nordic, not Pfizer. I don't know who all owns who and who's a shell company for what, but I don't think they're related. And two, they've been working on this since 2003, just in case of smallpox or monkeypox, because there have been, outbreaks everywhere for since really, what did I say, 1958, I think it was? So, boy, if you're thinking, oh, this is all staged and it's playing the long game, no, but the one thing that I will say, as far as stuff that doesn't add up and seems weird, how is this already in Italy, the Netherlands, France, Israel, Switzerland, Australia, now Argentina as of this week, Portugal, the US, Canada, the UK, Belgium, all within 2-3 weeks? Who did a world tour? You only see this stuff if a bunch of people went to a conference together, like some big international business thing, and then they all went home. Otherwise, did this one individual go to Nigeria and then stop at all those places? These places are not close. Australia is an island. How did it pop up in all these places at once? That just seems almost impossible. Nobody has an explanation for it. So was it bioterrorism? So I can see where all the conspiracy theories come from. This definitely looks weird, but I guess the theory that I've been seeing is that this was spreading during COVID. It never really stopped after the 2018 outbreak. It just got way slowed down, delayed, and whatever, and they just didn't know about it. But if you have skin lesions all over your face and feel like you got hit by a bus, don't you tend to maybe call the doctor? And if some individual government group, if someone somewhere decided, let's spread this for some reason, let's just take any kind of reason out of it, why would they pick one that doesn't really kill anyone, unless that wasn't their goal, and then two, one that already has approved treatments? Yeah, it falls apart in a hurry, but then you go back to, but how did it arise on 4, 5, 6 opposite sides of the globe all simultaneously, basically. That seems really, really unusual. So strong evidence on both sides. I don't think we can say it's a conclusion. It's definitely a conspiracy. I don't know, this one makes no sense. Of all the pathogens you could pick, this one absolutely makes no sense. So if you end up living in a hot zone, with everything I know, and this is where, like, I gotta remind you, I'm not a doctor, but just the research I did and what I know, it's just your average, avoid large crowds, avoid direct contact with people, real close contact. In this case, this probably isn't aerosolized, it's probably direct spit and bodily fluid and stuff, so wash your hands constantly anytime you touch anything. Or just like when you re-enter your house, you go out shopping, go to the gas station, do this, do that. Then when you're about to come back in, wash your house or wash your hands. And if you're like, oh, I'm gonna disinfect my whole house. Why? Okay, first of all, if it's already on a surface inside your house, who put it there? You've already failed, and you're gonna catch it. And secondly, how did it get there? I don't get it. If they're paranoid, just don't have people over. But I'm not saying paranoid. I'm saying, like, if your city has 10,000 cases next week, this is the kind of thing where you just want them to make as much tecovirimat as possible. Until it's like available to you. It's kind of like Paxlovid, where it was like, oh, only high priority older people that, and now like anybody can get Paxlovid to treat COVID because it's close to a cure as we're gonna get. It just absolutely stops replication, and that's what tecovirimat does. Provably, it's worked against other viruses in the same family even. So if the treatments are widely available and people are getting better and the numbers are going down, and like we have a big spike, but then it kind of gets, people just take precautions and it gets better. I wouldn't say, oh, I'm going to shelter in place for 3 months and quit my job. But the number one thing I'm worried about right now is, obviously not being able to stop this when it's in this many places. How the heck did it get in this many places, like I said before? And what kind of effect does it have on children? Because it seems like adults just tend to basically not die from this. Although I will say, smallpox at least, the skin lesions were so bad they left like pock marks, as they would call it, on your face, and you looked awful. So you might live through it, but you aren't going to like what you look like. So if you're like, oh, it's fine, it doesn't kill people. People care about their faces. The funny thing is, like, you might have gotten like some kind of heart inflammation, all kinds of weird damage from like an actual COVID infection. But people are like, yeah, but I lived through it and I'm fine. Well, just because you can't see it on the outside. But when people are like, oh, the skin of my face might not look quite as perfect. Wow, it's time to take this seriously. Yeah, people are just like that. That's people for you. So, I mean, gloves, it's always nice to have like a 50-pack of nitrile gloves around, whatever. Like, you can still touch a surface and touch your face with a glove and touch your eyes and touch your nose, okay? All it will do is stop you if you have like a cut on your hand or some kind of skin issue, dry skin cracks, just a breach in your protective skin on your hands. It'll stop you from getting directly infected through your skin. So, not very effective. People tend to use them wrong. They put them on wrong. They take them off wrong. They're very uncomfortable. They get you kind of clammy hands. They're awful. They affect your grip. You can't use your phone. The number one thing I would get right now if you're just like, I want to get out ahead of this a little bit. One, like lose weight, get healthy, improve your diet, just generally make yourself more resilient and less likely to die. Just in general, or from another thing stacking on top of it like a bad infection. And two, if they're going to lock you down for 21 days, if you test positive and there's lesions all over your skin, so you clearly have it, have 21 days plus worth of food and supplies. Obviously, that's without even this going on, have triple that. I'm just saying, duh, be prepared. And third, the big one is liquid Band-Aid. I'm a big fan of this. I'm surprised how many people haven't heard of this. The brand in America is usually Nu Skin, but that's spelled N-U. You can get just liquid Band-Aid generic everywhere. It's pretty cheap. It's basically super glue with alcohol in it. I'm sure it's a little more elaborate than that, but you kind of paint it over a wound or a cut, like a paper cut or something, and there you go. You stop getting germs in it, and it lets it heal, and I got like 3 vials of that for like, I don't know, $12. It's good stuff, and with the rise and big threat of antibiotic-resistant bacterial infections, we can't just be all willy-nilly like, oh, it's not going to get infected. Oh, it's a mild infection, I'll just go to the doctor. Nah, you got to cut somewhere, seal it up. Do it. And that goes triple if your area becomes a hot zone for monkeypox. So that's all I think people really need to do right now, other than watch the news and watch for, reports that are backed by science and have cited sources and such. So I'm going to be monitoring this closely. Stay subscribed to this channel if you want any kind of further updates and information. And like I said, leave a like and leave a thumbs up on the video. Maybe watch some of my other cool videos if you like the educational content, the style, the level of research I did, and other stuff. So thanks, everybody. My channel is actually explosively growing right now. So I very much appreciate that. A lot of my videos are taking off, getting mad views. That is awesome because my main channel is doing terrible. So I appreciate all the support. Thanks for watching, everybody, and I'll see you guys next time.